Internationalization of higher education and teaching to multicultural classrooms means, and most of the time, adopting English as teaching language and as interactions mean, even in countries where English is not the official language. Sometimes English mother tongue teachers move as visiting professor to non-English speakers countries. Sometimes local teachers adopt English as a second language to give their classes and to interact with students. Similar situation happens referring to students. Indeed, in class, teachers may have students who are speaking English as second language, students who are native speakers, or students who come from countries where English is one of the official languages, such as India, Kenya, Nigeria. In all these cases, language barriers are often experienced both by teachers and students, and the nature of the barrier depends on the level of proficiency of the speaker or of the listeners. The challenges arising may include limited possibility of expression or comprehension, struggling with accents, regional language barriers, jargons or abbreviations, but also bias, misperceptions or misjudgments of people speaking with a certain accent or not so fluent. Even if the individuals use the same language, for instance English, they still may not be able to fluently understand each other because of the pronunciation, language structure influenced by their own original language, or due to the use of verbal expressions or jargons, obvious to some but confusing to others, misunderstanding either instructions or part of class conversations. Using English as a second language for teaching and classroom interactions also impacts on the time needed for lecturing and for students' interventions. And these aspects need to be considered when planning teaching and class activities. If teachers or some students are native speakers, they might use vocabulary, idiomatic or jargon expressions not familiar to not native speakers. Some non-native speakers may not understand or feel excluded. Others could feel uncomfortable asking for an explanation, while the others bond. It's important for native speakers to be aware of the necessity to simplify or clarify the language use when communicating in multicultural context. Indeed, especially if they are at the first experience abroad, they might not be aware of language variety and of these difficulties. And native speakers, teachers, should pay attention to language simplification also when writing the assignments, instructions, or in the test question formulations. In classroom and outside classroom conversations, it could come natural to switch from English to the local language, but foreigners could perceive it as a sign of exclusion. However, on other occasions, switching languages could be permitted, particularly if some students have difficulties expressing their thoughts in English. In both cases, a good practice is to translate loudly what has been said, switching to English again as soon as possible. Teachers need to consciously manage these dynamics in class, pay attention to the meanings of exclusion or exclusion that can be transmitted, even involuntary, and to students' feelings. For second language speakers, both oral exams and writing assignments can be more challenging. Therefore, students with low level of English proficiency may perform worse than native English speakers. It's important to give suggestions to students, such as working in peers or in group with native speaker or someone with a high level of English proficiency, or reassuring that English proficiency is not considered as criteria of evaluation. Language proficiency, as accent and pronunciation, play a role in people's perceptions. For example, if you are a second language speaker with a strong American accent, this could probably mean you probably have spent some time in the US and you might be perceived as cooler than others. On the contrary, even if English is one official language for you, but your accent is neither American or British, some people might not perceive you as cool in the same way. And this is because people tend to associate, even unconsciously, meaning and values to the level of language proficiency and to accents. Sometimes, for instance, misjudging negatively people with a low English proficiency, and sometimes overjudging positively people with a high English proficiency. These language biases can cause stereotypes and prejudices in both teachers and students. For instance, people with low language proficiency could limit interactions with others. Other students with advanced language proficiency could group together and leave out those with lower language proficiency. It's important, particularly for teachers, but for students too, to be aware about how language, as one of the cultural identity layers, can play a role in classroom interaction and on students' performance. Particularly teachers need to be aware of language biases phenomenon, both in leading class interaction and in their students' evaluations. Furthermore, teachers can pay attention to encouraging the expression and class participation of students who exhibit a lack of self-confidence in their expression or of his or her thoughts using the second language. It's important to take in mind that multicultural classroom means multilingual classroom too, and language proficiency difference is one of the classroom diversity that needs to be managed.